First of all, I'll mention the previous shiurim to do with this week's parasha are from last year. There was a shiur called automatons or automatons, whichever you want to, how you want to pronounce it. And from the year before, there was a shiur called untenable, which was actually combining two parashiyot, last week's parasha and this week's parasha. So automatons and untenable, and they are both on TorahAnytime.com. Please check them out and have fun. Okay, so I'm going to start off with a mashal, a parable. So imagine this. There's a schoolroom, a class, and there's a teacher at the front, and he's teaching the kids. And the kids are listening. Some of them are dropping off, some of them are messing around, some of them are talking, and generally they're looking a little bit, like it's a long, drawn-out lesson. Then, as the lesson goes on, the lesson is towards the end of the day, then the teacher turns around to the blackboard. He's writing something on. As he's writing something on, the bell goes, the bell for the end of school. So he's writing something, and he turns around to explain to the class what he's written on the board, and there's nobody in the classroom. The moment that bell had rung, those kids got up and they were history. They were out of there. Of course, the teacher then at that point thinks, what's going on? Am I giving such a boring class that the kids all ran away? Doesn't do very much for the self-esteem of the teacher. But at the same time, the bell's gone. The kids were perfectly entitled to leave the class. They haven't done anything wrong. They're not obliged to do overtime. In fact, really, the bell signifies, you should go home now. Your parents are waiting for you. I want to suggest that this is exactly what happened at Har Sinai. Because Hashem gave the Torah, He gave the 613 mitzvot, the Jews now had to leave Har Sinai, turn around and head towards Israel. Nothing wrong with that. And that's exactly what they did. They turned around towards Israel, all happy, all smiles. Sounds like a nice fairy tale ending. But the Jews were punished for that. Why were they punished for that? They were doing what they were told. So I heard a very interesting answer. I might have mentioned this before in another shiur by, I believe his name is Rav Eisenstein. He is a Rav in America. He came to visit us when we were at Or Sameach, when I was learning there. Maybe we're going back maybe 10 years ago. He gave the following answer. He said, in truth, the Jews technically did nothing wrong. When Hashem tells you to do something, you do it. That's exactly what they did. So nothing wrong there. However, it was the way that they did it. They turned around and they said, we're told they were like naughty school children who the teacher's giving the lesson and they said, quick, let's get out before we do any overtime, before we have to do, it's like a detention for them. It's like missing recess, they say in America. Recess means break time for English people. Recess, they call it. So for them, they were running away. Of course, they were commanded to go away, but it was the way they did it. It's like they were happy to leave Har Sinai, but for the wrong reason. Their thinking was, God has just given us 613 mitzvot. Let's go before He gives us 614. They didn't want any more. They said, this is too much. It's like the old example that I always give, which obviously you can tell I'm going to give it again, about Tachanun. When we go to shul, like today, we didn't have Tachanun because it's 3 days before Shavuot, and there are many other days we don't say Tachanun. Now, on a Monday and a Thursday, that means you claw away 10 minutes from Shacharit in the morning. That's quite a lot of time. That's quite a bit of breakfast time. So when you leave shul 10 minutes early, how do you leave the shul? Do you leave the shul saying, 10 minutes short on my davening? I missed 10 minutes. I'm now 10 minutes early for home. You know what? I'll fill in that 10 minutes. I'll learn a few halachot. I'll say a kapitel Tehillim. I'll just open a sefer and I'll read an English sefer. Plenty of English Sforim out there now. Or do we say, 10 minutes, brilliant. I shaved 10 minutes off the davening. And you feel like you feel very accomplished. Again, you haven't done anything wrong technically. You don't have to say, if there's no tachanun, there's no mitzvah in saying tachanun when you're not supposed to say tachanun. But it's the way you do it. It's the attitude. So this is what the Bnei Israel were punished for. They were punished for that because they did what Hashem said. They were punished for it because of the attitude. Because they said, whew, thank goodness for that. We could have had 614 mitzvot. Now, there is something very curious in our parasha, which many of the commentaries speak about. If you look to the end of Perek Yud in this week's parasha, there are two very curious symbols stuck in the middle of the parasha. I can actually show it to you over here. If you see over here, those who are actually watching, instead of hearing on MP3, you can see here. You see this, and you see this. These two, they look like brackets. They are, in fact, upside down nuns. Nun, the letter equivalent, a numerical value of 50. Nun as in Navi. What are these two nuns doing in our parasha, stuck in the middle between two pesukim? And why are they upside down? So many of the commentaries talk about this and how come they're there. But you have to understand, first of all, what is enclosed between these two nuns. They are the pesukim Vahi bin Zohar Aaron Vayomer Moshe Kumo Hashem Vayafutsu Oivecha Vaynusu Mesanechem Bepanecha. This is the pasuk that we say when we open up the Holy Ark on Shabbat or on Rosh Chodesh or any of the festivals when we read from the Torah. Vahi bin Aaron, Vayomer Moshe, etc. And the second pasuk is Uvunucho Yomar Shuva Hashem Rivavot Alfei Yisrael. There's another pasuk that we say. In this one, we actually say it when we put the Torah away. Why are these two pasukim here, enclosed by these two upside down nuns, in the middle of no man's land? Because we have a narrative beforehand, and we have a narrative afterwards, and then we have this little island in the middle. These two pasukim that don't. Let me translate them for you. It's not fair for me to say to you in Hebrew and not translate it. When the ark went forth, Moshe said, "Arise, O God, and scatter your enemies. Let your foes flee before you." When it came to rest, he said, "Return, O God, to the myriads of Israel's thousands." Talking about the holy ark of the covenant, the ark which contained the 10 commandments. What was previous to these two verses? Well, we were talking about one of the favorite pastimes of the Jewish people in the desert, especially in this week's parasha. What is one of the favorite pastimes? Complaining. We call this in England whinging. Whinging, they were complaining to Moshe Rabbeinu. And straight afterwards, complaining. Vayi ha'am kimit onenim rav bozin Hashem. The people started to complain. They started to talk negatively. They started to talk about cucumbers and fish and all these types of things, watermelons. They were living in a fantasy world. We talked about this in the Shir Automatons. Or was it maybe Untenable? One of the two. We talked about how the Jews are living in a fantasy land. They felt that this is what they were missing out on by having this manna from heaven. Why don't we have real food? Why can't we have cucumbers? Why can't we have fish? Avatiach, watermelon. There were all these strange dimyonot that they were having, imaginations. So between these two complaining episodes, there are these two Pesukim. And the Kli Yakar gives a very beautiful answer as to why there are two nuns here and why there's this island in the middle between the two. Because, says the Kli Yakar, the word nun is a word. It actually means something. The word nun, would you believe it, means fish. The word nun can mean, normally we say dag means fish. The word nun can mean fish as well, says the Kli Yakar. Why do we have these two fish and upside down fish? So the Kli Yakar explains. Says, fish travel in water. They go forward. They go towards. They have a purpose when they swim. And also, what does water signify? Water signifies Torah. Ein mayim ela Torah, we say. It's the perfect analogy for Torah. So what were the Jews doing here before and after these two Pesukim? They were complaining about their lifestyle. They didn't want the Torah lifestyle. They were throwing it away. So these two Pesukim which talk about the ark which contained the Torah was saying something very significant. It was talking about what we started off the shir with. That they turned their back on Har Sinai. They were supposed to go, but they went with the wrong attitude. If you go with the wrong attitude, you're like a fish that's upside down. You're like a fish that's going the wrong way. You're like the fish that's going against the tide. You're like the fish that's jumping out of the water. What are you doing jumping out of the water? You live in the water. Like that famous story of Rabbi Akiva about the fox who wanted to tempt the fish out of the water. The fish said, no way. I come out of the water, I'll die. Says Rabbi Akiva, a Jew who leaves the Torah, he's going to die. So we were heading on a path of certain death. Why would we want to jump out of the water? So the Torah gives us this hint at the Kli Yakar, upside down fish. You're not doing what the fish is supposed to do. You're doing backwards. It's a warning for us. These two Pesukim are a warning for us. Don't turn your back on the Torah. Don't say, I don't want number 614. Thank God I didn't get number 614. Say, Baruch Hashem, I got 613. And when you turn around from Har Sinai, you should say, what a shame. I would love to stay at Har Sinai to see if Hashem has got anything more to say to us. But I can't. What can I do? Hashem wants us to go to Israel. I'm happy to do Hashem's will. I'm happy to go to Israel, to the promised land. But I'm also sad at the same time. I had such a wonderful time at Har Sinai with a wonderful sound and light show, with all the whole shebang about the 10 Commandments. It was amazing. And I'm sad to have to go. Which kid is sad when which kid is happy rather? Which kid is happy when his father tells him, we've got to leave the sweet shop now? Which kid goes, thank goodness for that. I was so fed up with all those sweets. I had it up to here with all the sugar candies and all the chewy sweets. The kid would go, Dad, give me 5 minutes more. No, son, it's time to go home. Please. No, it's time to go home. We should have been like a kid in a candy shop. That's what we should have been like. That's why it was so severe. That's why we had this tremendous warning here. And there's a lot of talk in this week's parashah about traveling. Jews love to travel. Jews love cruises. Jews love going away for Pesach. Jews love going on hike. I like going on hikes. I went on a hike with my family the other day. We had a fantastic time. We saw Hashem's Bria firsthand. It was amazing. My son Yoni here is here with us. It's his first share. So he's smiling at me because he knows he was so happy to see Hashem's creation firsthand without any human intervention. Beautiful. So we love traveling. We love the great outdoors. So there's a lot of traveling featured in this week's parasha. But there's something very interesting. Because with all the traveling and with all the starting and stopping and starting and stopping, we didn't really have any itinerary. We didn't have a big printout saying, Tuesday, we're in this place. Wednesday, we're in this place. And then Thursday, we're there as well. Friday, we get going again. Don't forget, pack your bags, get your matzahs ready. Don't forget your donkeys. Don't forget your kids. There was nothing like that. You know how we traveled? We literally arrived somewhere because the clouds of glory stopped. They stopped moving. So that was our sign, stop. Then when the clouds of glory started moving again, we had to move again. Now many times we would arrive somewhere and it would be really nice. And then the clouds of glory, the Ananei HaKavod, would move. And then we'd be moving. We'd like, why are we moving? It's so nice here. No, they moved, we move. Then the clouds of glory would stop, and then we'd be somewhere where it was not so nice. Maybe it didn't have much water there, or it didn't have a nice feel to it, or it wasn't comfortable for anybody. And we had to stay there for ages. And we're like, no, come on, clouds, get a move on, we need to go. So it didn't seem to make any sense. There was no rhyme or reason. So why? Why couldn't we plan things out? Already when we left, we had the whole problem with, we had to run out, bechipazon, and we put the dough on our backs and matzahs, and the whole story. We were so unprepared. So why all the rush? Why like walking in the dark? We never knew what was going on. So there's a beautiful answer to this. Because why did the clouds move? And why did the clouds stop? Because the clouds indicated Hashem's will. Because Hashem said to us, now you move, and now you stay. And now you move, and now you stay. And we think we know what's best for us. We think this is a nice place. Let's stay here. We think we know best. So the clouds were moving. Nothing to do with whether the place was good or not good. It showed this is the right thing to do. It doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter if the weather's good or the weather's bad. It doesn't matter if you think you want to stay a week or a year. The best thing for you to do is what Hashem wants you to do. And that's a tremendous lesson for all of us. Because we think we know what's best. We think, I need to do this right now. That's what's best for me. Hashem says, No. You can't do that. And Hashem will show us that we can't do that. But we want to do that. It makes so much sense to do that. Hashem says, no. So why do we feel disappointed when Hashem puts a stumbling block in front of us and says, don't turn left, turn right? Oh, but I need to turn left because everything works out on paper. You have to turn left. Hashem says, don't worry about your paper. I'm showing you the way is right, not the way is left. So we really need to get this into our heads, that Hashem is maneuvering us in our lives, maybe through our choices, but He's maneuvering us for the best thing. It's always for the best thing. It might seem there's no light at the end of this tunnel. But wherever Hashem moves us, wherever His clouds of glory move, we must follow them. We need to take that route. And that is the best thing for us, period. We need to get that into our heads. And talking of complaining, let's see what the people complained about. Perek Yud Aleph, Pasuk Aleph. Vayi ha'am ki mit'onenim rav b'oznei Hashem. The people started to complain, and it was bad in Hashem's ears, as it were. Hashem didn't like it. Vayishma Hashem vayichar apo. When Hashem heard it, He got angry. Vativar bam eish Hashem vatochal b'kitzei ha'machaneh. And Hashem's fire was flaring out. And it burnt the edge of the camp. Hashem sent fire. Because machloket and complaining shows a lack of faith. It shows you don't believe what Hashem has planned for you. You have a better idea than what God has planned to you. Hashem says, well then, what's the point of that? I'm showing you the best way. Just have a little bit of faith in me. Now the Steipler Gaon, the father of Rav Kanievsky, brings an amusing parable. He says like this: imagine if there is a man on a donkey, riding on a donkey, and his son is walking next to him. And they're traveling down the road, and they encounter somebody in the street. And this man sees the father on the donkey and the son trailing behind, walking behind. And the man says to the man on the donkey, says, hey, what are you doing? This is cruelty to the child. You've got a young child, you're sitting high and dry on the donkey, and the child is walking behind you. The poor kid must be dehydrating by now. So the father sitting on the donkey says to himself, maybe this man's right. So what does he do? He immediately gets off the donkey, takes his kid, puts the kid on the donkey, and then leads the donkey and the kid. Now the father feels better. As he's carrying on, they bump into another person. They're supposed to say, hey, what are you doing? And the father says, well, what do you want? He says, you put your son on a donkey and you're walking behind? This is chinuch. This is how you educate your child. That the father who, it's on your father and your mother. He sits on the donkey. You have to walk. What is this? It's like the old people working and the young people, they're out of work. Ridiculous. How can you educate your children like that? No wonder kids go off the derech. So now the man thinks, he's right. What does the father do? Takes the kid off the donkey, and both of them walk and they're leading the donkey along. And they bump into a third person, and the third person says, what is this? You're walking along, you've got a donkey here, you could be saving your legs. Go ride on the donkey. So now they think, oh my gosh, okay, all right, we'll both ride on the donkey. So the father comes, puts his son, and he himself goes on the donkey. Both of them riding on the donkey. Another guy they run into. And this guy says, have you ever heard in the Torah it says, don't be cruel to animals? You ever heard of being kind? How could both of you be sitting on this donkey? Poor thing is groaning under the weight of the two of you. And they think, oh. So now they come off the donkey, and both of them, between the two of them, they hold the donkey, they're walking along, walking with the donkey holding. And they bump into a fifth person. The fifth person looks at them and he starts laughing. He says, you fools, what are you doing? You're just idiots. What's the Steipler trying to tell us with this amusing story? He's saying like this. He's saying whatever position you are in life, it's more prevalent when you're in a position of authority. But there'll always be people who are going to be complaining. They'll be complaining about Moshe Rabbeinu. They'll be complaining about Aaron. They'll be complaining about how loud the shofar is. They'll be complaining about how quiet the shofar is. They'll be complaining, why did he put me on the table plan next to him? Of all the people, I have to sit at the wedding next to him? Didn't they know? I'm sure they did know. Or, they put me on a table right next to the draft. Typical. He hates me, and I knew that he hates me. He put me right next to the window, and he knows that I don't like the draft. There'll always be mitlonanim. I'm sure you can think of hundreds of examples. You all know what I'm talking about. You're all laughing. You'll never win. You will never win. Well, sometimes it occurred to me when I was preparing that sometimes when people complain, it's just that they want to be heard. They want somebody to hear them out. They don't really want to complain. They've got no interest in complaining. They just want a listening ear. And I'll tell you something that happened. And before I tell you this thing, I'm going to tell you first and foremost, do not do the thing. Do not try this at home. What I'm telling you now is a true story. Don't try this at home because it doesn't always work. I'm telling you now because it brings out the point what I'm saying, and it's a little bit amusing. So I have a friend of mine. I'll tell you his first name. His first name's Adam. So he's a very well-spoken fellow. And somebody once asked him to be the chairman at a bar mitzvah. So what does that mean? That means you have to organize things. That means you have to organize, the timings with the caterer, with the photographer, with all the speeches, make sure all the divrei Torah, the rabbanim know when they're supposed to speak or when they're not supposed to speak, and when the food's going to come out. It's quite a complicated job. And of course, apart from all these logistical things, you also have to deal with the guests. So my friend Adam he's very capable. He organized things very well. And he was approached during the course of the bar mitzvah by a disgruntled elderly lady. And she said to him, Mister, it's so cold in here. Why they put the air conditioning on? I'm freezing in here. So she's ranting on, and my friend Adam is listening. And he says to her, I hear what you're saying. You're absolutely right. It's very cold in here. Could you hang on a minute? He turns around. He walks about 5 feet away. I think he walked round a corner, stood there for a minute or two. He came back to the old lady. He said, is that better? She said, oh yes, thank you, so much better. What did he do? Absolutely nothing. And she was happy. She never came back. Again, I stress again, don't try this at home. Address people's issues if they have in the best way possible. But the point is clear. People just want to be heard. They're not necessarily interested in complaining. Maybe we should try and judge people a bit more favorably, including myself. Okay, let's carry on. The same Perek Yud Aleph. Let's go to Pasuk. Here we go, Pasuk Tet Zayin. Vayomer Hashem Moshe Esfali Shivim Ish Miziknei Israel. Hashem said to Moshe Rabbeinu, gather for me 70 elders, 70 of Israel's elderly people, but not just any old people. Don't just pick out the white beards. Asher Yadata Kihem Ziknei Ha'am, who the ones you know to be the people's elders and leaders. V'shotrav, it says. That's the word that's translated as leaders. But shotrav, we have in modern Hebrew, the word shoter. What does shoter mean? Mishtara is a word related to it. The word shoter means policeman. Pick 70 of Israel's policemen. So what is this? LAPD? You're looking for a policeman in the middle of the desert? You know what Rashi tells us? These were not any 70 elderly people. These 70 people were the taskmasters who were in Egypt at the time of the slavery. They were not the Egyptian taskmasters. We won't talk about the Erev Rav, the mixed multitude. We're talking about the 70 Jewish leaders who were answerable to the Egyptian head taskmasters. So whenever the Egyptians wanted to control the Jews, they would go to the heads of the Jewish slaves. These were the Jewish taskmasters. They said, look, your group are not producing the quota of bricks. If they do not pull their socks up, we will take it out on you, they said to the Jewish taskmasters. And when they didn't produce the quota, the Jewish taskmasters literally took it on the back. They took the whippings from the Egyptians on behalf of their Jewish comrades, on behalf of the Jewish people. They were the ones who took the whips and the blows, and they stood up for their Jewish brethren. Hashem said, I don't want any 70 elders. I want those Jews who stood up for their brothers, who took the pain who had their blood spilt on behalf of their Jewish brothers. Those are the ones I want to be with you. This says something to all of us. How many of us stand up for our brothers? How many of us go to a shiva when it's inconvenient? I just heard a sad story. I went to a shiva. I didn't even know the guy. I was just told there's a shiva, and I went there, and I realized that I know him through different people. And afterwards I was speaking to him. I went to be Menachem Avel after the prayers. So I said to him, what happened? How did you arrange your mother's burial? Who did you take with you? Who did you go to? He said, I did it by myself. I said, what? Your mother died and you went and you arranged the burial yourself? He said, yeah. I had to go to get the doctor's certificate. I had to go to the hospital. I had to go here and there. I had a little bit of help from my cousin, or brother, or in-law, something like that. But otherwise, I did it all by myself. I said, I can't believe it. I didn't tell him that, but I felt so bad for him. I mean, I never knew the guy. If I would have known the guy, maybe I could have arranged something or whatever. But how come he had to arrange his own mother's levaya by himself? That doesn't bear thinking about. And I don't want to bring a kitrug on Klal Yisrael. I don't want to bring any accusation. But I'm saying maybe we need to think about our fellow brothers and what they're going through. And maybe it's not so convenient. Maybe we haven't got the time. But Hashem says, I know you haven't got the time, but I want you to serve me without time. I want you to find the time from nowhere. You serve me in health, serve me when you're not so healthy. You serve me when you've got the time and when you're in a nice air-conditioned Beit HaMidrash. Now I want you to serve me when you haven't got the time, when time is scarce, when the Beit HaMidrash is not so air-conditioned, when it's difficult to be there. I want you to do mitzvot when it's hard for you. Not always when it's easy for you. Don't always go to a nice hot mikveh and have a bathe and say, that's my mitzvah for the day. It's nice, good to go to the mikveh. What about the hard mitzvahs? What about the people in hospitals who are languishing there? And they want to reach out to people. And they want people to come in and learn Torah with them. And spend time with them. And share their situation with them. They also want to be heard out. They just want somebody to listen. So we need to do that. We need to stretch out to our friends. Stretch out to Klal Yisrael. Like the 70 elders literally stretched their backs out to the Egyptian taskmasters on behalf of their fellow Jews.